Welcome to Tech Talks, Evolving Distribution. I'm Corey Hayes, and with me is Bill Rosado. Today, we're exploring how digital transformation is reshaping the distribution industry.
That's right. From e-commerce platforms to CRM tools, we talk with industry experts about how distribution can embrace these changes and thrive in the ever-changing space.
Whether you're just getting started or looking for new insights, we've got you covered. Today's episode is packed with information to help you navigate the digital shift.
So let the tech talk begin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of Tech Talks Evolving Distribution. Really excited for today's episode. Corey Hayes alongside Bill Rosado, as always. Bill, how are you doing today, my friend?
Oh, man, this is super exciting. Everybody should be excited, right? We got a guest that's going to bring sunshine to the podcast.
Yeah. So we have the one and only Dason Fujimoto. I said that your last name, right?
You are correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. I thought there was only really one way to pronounce it. I kind of went through it real quick to make it sound like I just wasn't going to stumble over it. But yeah, you're coming from beautiful, sunshiny Hawaii. Today you're in California at the California branch, but normally you're in Honolulu, part of Inner Island Solar Supply. And yeah, we're super excited to have you on today's episode. If you're watching, you have a beautiful background. It's making me really hate that I live in the Midwest.
I can't complain. Aside from the last week of bad weather, there's not a whole lot of bad weather days we get out in Honolulu. So it's a beautiful place.
Nice. While I'm looking out my window, and we had snow yesterday. I appreciate it. It's really nice. Good for you. No, excited to have you on the podcast today. Before we get into the questions, why don't you just take a minute, introduce yourself, introduce your role at Inner Island, maybe talk a little bit just about Inner Island, and what's brought you here today, part of this conversation. We're excited to have you.
Sure. Yeah, Corey, I appreciate it. I've been with Inner Island going on almost 2 years now, and it's been a transformational journey, to say the least. Prior to coming in, I was working in solar installation. I was working in management for a large local solar installer out here in Hawaii. Moved through corporate life with a manufacturer, then come back and here we are. So I play a pretty interesting role here at Inner Island Solar Supply as the IT project manager. That in a small to medium organization as we are, I think a lot of small business owners and employees would relate to the fact that it's not really just a title. You got to be able to be, kind of a chameleon in a sense, and work through a lot of different departments and problems. That's kind of what I've been doing. So in the first couple of years, we've really taken advantage of the third-party perspective coming in outside and looking in, seeing as an old organization what we can change, what we can improve on. We've been in business for a little over 50 years now, and Inner Island Solar Supply is one of the longest running renewable energy distribution facilities in the United States, which is something we're very proud of, to say the least.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we're super excited to have you today. Really have every conversation that I've had with you. I feel like I've always kind of walked away with just a little extra food for thought. You've given me something to think about. Your perspective has always been appreciated. So we've been trying to get you on the podcast for a while now, and today is finally the day. So really excited for that.
That's because sunshine has always gotten in the way.
Yeah.
I apologize. It's as you can imagine, working in small business, I'm so thin on resources, traveling all over and helping everybody I can. So
that's not what I heard. When I asked, I heard, well, I got a tea time.
If only that was the case.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and dive into the conversation. So we'll set you up with the first question here. What is the one thing that distributors believe about technology that is, in your opinion, completely wrong?
This question is is a good one. I spent a pretty good amount of time really thinking about it, and something that I approached coming into Inter Island Solar Supply was the conversation from some of our leadership team or some of our employees that were saying, hey, let's automate this, let's do AI with that, and there was a lot of hesitancy around that, thinking that automation would replace people. And truly, and anyone who's worked through these processes for to gain efficiency in certain areas or get a software that automates this or that, you're going to find that it doesn't replace people at all. It creates a ton more efficiency in a workflow, and it allows the people that you have on staff now to really be the subject matter expert that they are, instead of just being someone who writes in data or writes an order here or there. We need those people, and we're allowing them to be more creative and lean into the expertise that we hired them for. So we've seen a lot of success across the organization doing different software projects that we think on the back end, like, hey, it's gonna solve a ton of problems. It's gonna make us 50% more efficient in this process, and it does, while keeping the employees that we have on staff working hard. And also, we're seeing growth, for them too. It's really incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny that people
That's
feel
awesome.
that way, right? That technology is going to replace them, and it's just so not the truth, right? It just helps you do a better job and free up your time.
For sure. Yeah, and we've seen that across the board. Being as old of an organization as we are, automation is a scary word. When you talk about change management to our employees, and it's taken a long time for us to really show that this isn't going to replace your job. It's going to make you better. It's going to give you more time to be the expert that you are. And we've found so much success in letting people get better and leverage the automation, leveraging the tools to make everybody better.
Yeah, and I want to jump in and ask maybe a question around that. So we have a saying that I've heard pretty often around here at Aldrich Solutions, that everything moves at the speed of trust. Then it doesn't always necessarily move as fast as we want it to. Sometimes it moves a little bit slower. It really depends on how much trust we have gained in the process. And I think that without saying that specific word and without saying that saying, you really just kind of put that in your own words of, over time, we had to show people and prove to them that this isn't going to take away your job. This is actually going to enhance your life, make it better. And you've built trust over time. Um, what conversations were you or your team having to help navigate that change? Because I got to tell you, Dason, I mean, change management has been the biggest issue that we have talked about with distributors on this podcast. And I think everybody's always wondering, how do I approach my team when it comes to actually changing? What conversations were you having? How were you building trust with your team?
Yeah, anybody that you talk to that works through change management or is change management certified is always going to preach about the buy-in, right? You got to get these folks to buy into the solution. If I come in and we'll use Aldrich as an example, like if I come in and say, hey, I want to build this e-commerce platform to make your life easier, the first thought on their side typically is going to be like, how does that impact me? What different process am I going to have to do? So rather than approaching it that way, we've always taken the approach of just asking people, like, what's the pain point in your day to day? What's the hardest part that you're seeing? What's the process that you take the most time in? And really focusing in there and trying to make sure that for each individual that we're talking to, every department that we're working with, we're focusing on the problems that they're bringing up. And we're getting a lot more support that way because they also want to fix the problem. They just don't have the time in their day-to-day to actually do it.
All right. So to kind of expound on that, right? What separates distributors that succeed with technology from those that seem to constantly struggle?
Oh my gosh. It's the support. Every single time it's going to be the support. So when, we've had, okay, I'm going to back up. Prior to me coming into Inter Island Solar, there was no project manager, for things like this, for software. It was just added on to the staff that we had. So it was, the last CRM project that we tried to bring on that subsequently failed, it was our CEO and some vice presidents helping with the onboarding process. And, from the start, it was set up for failure because they, if we're being honest, they don't have the time in their day to work through CRM workflows and automation. Having someone dedicated on the team for projects, for support, things like that is the game changer. And that's what we've seen. The time that I have when I first started was great. I was walking around talking to people, getting insight. 2 years later, I can't fit 5 minutes into my day that's not planned a month in advance.
Yeah.
And that's because, over time, going back to what we talked about with building trust, we've done that, and we've gotten to a point where the workflow day to day is reliant on the support system that we've built over the last 2 years. I'm very, very proud of that.
Yeah. So what's one key piece to a distributor that lacks support? I mean, what would you tell? Is it just go find the right people, or where do they need to start in engaging better support options?
Every distribution company is going to be different,
Yeah.
depending on their age, depending on their management, depending on their location. We've found a ton of success in building a support system that starts in IT. My background, hilarious enough, is not in IT. I was just, I knew how to work a phone pretty good, and stuck my way into it.
Yeah.
But what it really ended up being was, coming into the organization, I was taken under, a certain level of mentorship from one of our vice presidents. He was the ERP master, right? He knew everything about our ERP system, how it was built, how it was integrated, where it's gone, what all the rules are, and getting a better understanding of that, coming in, that's the root of most distribution companies, right? So I in some ways mastered that, and was able to expand on it and figure out what works best across our organization because of it.
Yeah, I love the idea of a mentorship program through training. I think if anybody's really into leadership, which I like a lot of different leadership books, Patrick Lencioni talks about that a lot, like creating mentorship programs from the top bottom. So every single person that he onboards as part of his team, even if it's the smallest, I don't want to say insignificant, but even if it's at a
Mhm.
low level, entry level, he has a mentor that is dedicated to helping that person at all parts of their training, and then continually checks in with them, whether it's weekly, whether it's biweekly, and continues that relationship. And he's just seen a lot of success through mentorship programs as part of the training process. So I think that's great.
Yeah,
Um,
but it's a tough buy-in, right? Like when you're
yeah,
talking to older distribution companies, especially, it's going to be really difficult to talk to your senior employees and the folks that have been in charge for the last 30 years. Hey, here's this new person to work with. Go talk to them, teach them all your tricks. Part of that's job security for them. So
yeah,
it's a difficult bridge to gap. And a lot of the times it starts with just being able to help with the small stuff, right? And coming in for me, working with my vice president of procurement, it was really about like, hey, same process of buy-in. What's the part of your day that you hate the most? When you go home at the end of the day, you're like, man, this was a really difficult day. Like I had a really hard time. Like, give me those problems. I
yeah.
have the time to take that. Give me those problems. Let me try to fix them. Let me try to own it. And over time, just kind of taking stuff off his plate has allowed me to learn more, has allowed me to gain that trust. And that's the same approach that we're taking across the board. And that's a great place to start.
That's a fantastic point, Dason, because I think so many times we talk about, the older generations really training up and bringing up newer generations into their industry, and we talk about how to treat the younger workforce, and we talk about how to train the younger workforce. Sometimes I feel like we really gloss over and just don't talk about the responsibility that the younger workforce also has to learn appropriately and approach the elder generations. I'm trying to find the best way to say
Yeah.
it. The elder
Yeah.
generations,
Yeah.
and
I, you know,
learn from them.
for
There's a
sure.
responsibility there.
And there's a real careful line that we always have to weigh as we're going into it. I would consider myself somewhat younger in the workforce, and coming into it, it's a really difficult trust battle, because for me, I'm a very, high level go-getter. I want the most, I want to be the best. And the reality of it is I can't come into every relationship like that. If I approach the situation as, hey, I want to be the vice president in 2 years, you're going to make a lot of enemies that way. And it's tough, especially for a small local business, to continue to grow, because you're going to get outcasted in no time. It's about building the trust. You've got to learn from it. You've got to, pay your dues in a little way. And it takes time, unfortunately.
That's great advice. So what is a popular trend in distribution technology that you think is absolutely overhyped?
This, I might get a lot of flack for this, but I talk to so many people that say AI is the future and we got to put everything into it.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just so skeptical. AI in distribution is really good in some ways because it can help you with data management and reporting, the business intelligence side. But there's a lot of risks in the security, and there's a lot of risks in who owns the data and the vulnerabilities on the IT side. And AI, honestly, it's really only as good as what you tell it to be, right? Like, it has these large language models to read through and learn and get to know you and your organization better and your data. But if I don't know what I'm looking for, it's not going to tell me automatically. I either got to hire somebody to build that for me, or I got to know what questions to ask it to make sure that we're getting the most information out of it.
Yeah. You are the third conversation in a row. Isn't that right, Bill?
Yeah. It's interesting that everybody talks AI, but all our guests are saying it's well overhyped. And that probably is because that's what everybody thinks. AI is just going to solve everything. What they don't realize is that, that person internal, right, and those people you're talking about earlier, right, they are the expert, right, and the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Without that, AI is useless, right? For you to roll in and tell somebody how to do their job and use this AI, well, you don't know the expertise that they know, right? Helping them, but they got to understand they're important to AI to get the right results.
Yeah, 100%. And we're finding that across the board. We've said no to, probably 10 AI projects or, some level of integration across the way because we just weren't ready. And that's what a lot of people are going to find. Big organizations like a Microsoft and Apple, the folks who have the core functionality to support projects like that, they're going to be fine. They're going to be able to build a training program to tell their users what prompts to use and how to optimize the AI. But, at the end of the day, we have around 100 employees across our organization as a whole, and one me. If I was to get an AI integration to our ERP as an example, I'd have to go around and make a document or make some type of training program and teach people how to use it. Folks that are barely used to using computers, or have trouble sending emails at times. It's a large task to undertake for a lot of these distribution companies, but it's not a bad thing. You just gotta, the theme of today, I feel like, is going to be having the support. That's going to go across the board for everything that we talk about.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I know Bill's getting ready to tee up another question for you, but I just wanted to point this out. I get to talk to, we go to trade shows, we get to talk to our customer base quite a bit. And I think it's always funny because when I'm talking to like a sales rep or somebody of that nature from a distributor that's a customer of ours, they always ask the question, so how are you guys implementing AI? Like, with excitement behind it. And then when we talk to somebody that's in IT or like support, they always ask, so how are you guys implementing AI, with some like hesitation behind the question. It's just a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement, and I feel like I'm in a unique position in our organization to help build, bridge the gap between the AI excitement and the security side of it, because I want to support both, and that at the end of the day, the sales team are really what's driving revenue for the organization. I gotta support them. I gotta make sure that their day to day is straightforward and automated, but but there's a middle ground that we always find, and we've found success in that along the way.
All right, so kind of take it a different direction. What do you think your peer distributors underestimate when they're about to begin some kind of new technology implementation?
Yeah, it's Bill. It's always the ongoing support, man. You can't just build something and expect it to go, especially nowadays. In the SaaS model, right? So there's updates that are coming all the time. There's processes that are going to change, and if you think that you have a team that can support it, great. Make sure that team knows that they're supporting it and they're dedicated to supporting whatever initiative you're trying to do, because at the end of the day, the software and the product that you're putting out there is only going to be as good as the support that you give it along the way. And that's something that everybody underestimates.
Wait, and something that people underestimate, you're talking about support. It's on both sides, right? It's on your side to support it internally, and then it's on someone like us on our side, right, to support it externally. So the great point, right? It is support, and I just think when you're trying to figure out the right partner, you got to think about what their support's like and ask those questions, right, and get the feedback from other people who know them, right? What type of support they have.
For sure. Yeah, but so take the car scenario, right? You buy a car from Toyota and you drive it every day. No service, no maintenance, no support on your side to care for that product. It's gonna catastrophically fail one day. You're gonna take it back to Toyota and say, "Hey, fix this for me," and it's gonna be a gigantic fire. At the end of the day, it's not really their fault, right? Like you neglected it and it
Yes.
broke, and the expectation's like, oh man, Toyota sucks. Like that's not the case. And that's the similar application we take every day. So you got to be able to make sure that you're doing regular service. You have the availability to do maintenance and upgrades, and all the things that are going to make your project successful is the support every single time.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I feel like we've talked about it fairly often on this podcast that there's a lot of misunderstanding. I think uh, I almost hate to say it this way, but I think Hollywood has almost trained us to think about technology in a certain way that it's just a magic wand and can do whatever we want
Mhm.
whenever we want. But it's a lot of work that's required in making technology work and implementing it correctly on both ends. To Bill's point, I would just encourage anybody listening, any distributor listening, you know, really do your due diligence to find the right partners that are going to work with you. But I would say find the right partners that are going to also equip you and empower you to make the changes that you need to make when you want to make them. You're not always dependent on their support. You're not always dependent on going back to them for help. If you've got to make updates to certain things, there are probably moments that it's more efficient and better for you because you understand your industry, you understand your product. It's probably more efficient and effective for you to make those changes and have the power to do so, because it really does come to support on both sides. I agree. All right. So the biggest question we'll ask you today: if you could give every distributor listening one piece of advice, that thing that goes on a T-shirt, that thing that goes on a billboard, that thing that hangs above your golf course as you're golfing out there in Hawaii, something I don't know, what would it be?
The bottom line for all of this, and you felt it through our conversation today, but it's invest in the team before you invest into the technology. So, don't come into a project thinking this is going to replace a job. This is going to replace someone's day to day, and you can save money by, buying this software instead of paying the HR benefits and things like that. That cannot be the approach. Absolutely. The the reality of it is, like we've talked about before, without a team to support the technology, without a team to support the product, it's gonna fail every single time. You're not gonna have the right expectations going into it. You're not gonna have the right support for the ongoing maintenance, and then eventually you're gonna get to a point where your users are gonna hate it. They're gonna hate using whatever software that you're trying because it doesn't work for them. You built it, at a point in time that was best for that day. 2 weeks later, I mean, everybody in distribution knows this, with the war going on more specifically than anything else, things change so fast, and you have to be able to adapt to that. Without a supporting staff, you're not going to get it.
That's great. I mean, we could end it right there, Bill. What do you say?
Exactly.
I don't.
Hey, when are we going to start printing the T-shirts?
Yeah, invest in your team before you invest in your technology. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better myself. That was fantastic.
The biggest part, Corey, that that I'll leave us on is like we're as an organization, we're very fortunate, right? So we're an employee owned, we're 100% employee owned organization, and that changes a lot of the culture in what we do day to day. So we've had easier success getting buy-in because as the company succeeds, everybody here succeeds, and we're happy about that. But it doesn't change the fact that when things don't go right, people are upset, and when things break, we lose money. Gotta have a team to support that, and building that, investing in that. You don't need a rock star. You don't need someone from McKinsey to come in and tell you how to run your business and all that. You just need somebody that will align with where the business is going and make sure that whatever you're doing, you've got a plan to support it. And that at the root of it is how we found a lot of success, how we're continuing to build and grow, and how that path looks like for us over the next 5-10 years.
I mean, just some great advice, right? And someone listening, right? If you know people in your organization or peers, I challenge you to go ahead and share this, right? You got some great feedback and some great advice from someone that's doing an incredible job, right? 2 years in, really doing an incredible job with what you're doing as far as technology in your organization. I applaud you, sir.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that.
And if you're looking for the fruit of the labor of Dason Fujimoto, go to InterIsland's website because it looks fantastic. And Dason spent a lot of time on that. So you deserve all the vacation. I don't know where a person that lives in Hawaii goes for vacation, but
typically I try to find somewhere a little cooler. I have not hit that in my trip to California this week.
You can come to Southern Illinois, brother, and you can vacation in Carbondale. There you go. All right, well, Dason, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I appreciate the praise, but anything that we do here, it's always gonna be a team effort. There's nothing that I'm doing independently that's changing the world here. And we're very fortunate to have a team, and especially on our leadership side, to support these projects, support the initiatives, the changes in the efficiency saving software, and being a little more adaptive to the SaaS model billing that everybody hates. But it could definitely be worse. And changing a 50-year-old company to be in the 21st century is a difficult and long road. We're very fortunate to just have the opportunity to do that. So yeah, I'm fortunate. I'm very thankful to have an opportunity to talk with you guys and share some of the little things about what we're doing to continue to improve day to day.
Well, the feeling is mutual, brother. We appreciate your time today and appreciate you jumping on. Bill, any final thoughts you have to take us home?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think throughout, I've heard this. I mean, you've brought in a lot of advice, but Corey seems to think the only thing that happens in Hawaii is golfing.
I mean, and surfing. If I go to, I've never been to Hawaii, but when I come, that's the two things I'm going to do. So,
well, we're going to record another episode on site if you want to. We can find a nice spot on the beach for you.
Bill, what are we doing? We got to record on site. Let's go. All right. Well,
next year we're going to come out and we're going to do a live podcast from Hawaii with you. So.
Yes. Yeah.
Sounds beautiful. We'll make it happen.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on today. And thank you, listener, for jumping on, listening to this Tech Talk, Evolving Distribution. Remember, we have podcasts that are going up the first and the third Thursday of every single month. And also we have a newsletter on LinkedIn that's coming out the second and the fourth Thursday of every month. We'd love for you to be a part of those conversations. So feel free to check those out. Dason, once again, thank you so much. You have a great rest of your day and safe travels back home.
Appreciate that.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Tech Talks Evolving Distribution. Thanks for tuning in.
And we hope you've gained some valuable insights on how to embrace digital transformation and stay ahead in the distribution industry.
A special thanks to our sponsor, Aldrich Web Solutions, for supporting this podcast. With over 20 years of experience, they've been helping distributors win online and maximize their digital presence. Be sure to check them out if you're ready to take your business to the next level.
And if you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. And of course, share this with anyone who could benefit from this conversation.
We'll be back next time with more expert insights. And until then, keep evolving and embracing change.